Alrighty, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. It is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, and hey, your boy did taxes this past weekend. Sick and everything. You can probably still hear it a little bit on my voice. Part of that is just the fact that I talk on the phone all day at work as well. But you know what? I'm a little bit hoarse. Also a human as well, if you were wondering. But hey, we're coming off of this weekend with a sense of accomplishment. We can push that activity to next year. You know, we can procrastinate another year on doing those taxes. We finally got them done. Do your taxes if you haven't. It sucks every single year. Somehow you convince yourself into hoping that you get it done in under an hour, and every single time it took me about an hour and a half this time, which honestly, not a bad year. Not a bad year. Helps when you don't have a whole bunch of weird tax situations to worry about. Different story for a different time. I'll tell you what, that 1099 life with DoorDash, don't want that back. Do not want that back. Those taxes were a little bit more complicated than W-2 life. I'll say that right now. That being said, we are firmly back into offseason mode. Free agency was basically like a week and a half long thing. All the best free agents got gobbled up almost immediately. All the stragglers have pretty much found teams. Pretty much only one notable guy is left, that being Aaron Rodgers. We're going to talk about all that here in just a second, but I got some headlines for you. Not a whole lot of them. Probably get you out here in a tight 50 minutes to an hour. We'll call it that. In the interest of time, though, I'm going to get another swig of this Gatorade because my throat is parched. Just real quick, hold on, and then we're just going to get straight into this, okay? Just straight into it. Bit of a cold streak with the gambling picks as well for NBA. I was sitting at a 70+% clip there for a little bit. I was about as hot as I've ever been in any sport and in any gambling ever. That's just life. That's just life, though. We're still very much in the money for this season. I assure you of that. That being said, gamble responsibly, people. Come on. There's a reason I'm not putting out picks on this. So let's chill out. Let's chill out, okay? Don't fall victim to the sports books out there. That's my humble request to you, okay? Okay? If you don't know what you're doing, don't gamble. There we go. Okay, so we'll keep it moving. On this point, we got headlines. Pretty much all NFL. A little sprinkling of college in there. We're not really going to talk about it much, but two more Georgia players got arrested on driving-related charges last week. One of them, a wide receiver with the first name of Nitro, last name Tuggle. All-time name. I just ran into a name at work which I can't share due to confidentiality reasons. That is probably my favorite that I've ever seen in this job. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not going to tell you what the name was, but let me tell you, it's a great name. It's a great name, and I'll just leave it at that. That being said, Nitro Tuggle got caught for speeding. Other guy whose name escapes me, I believe a defensive lineman, I want to say. He just ran into an apartment building, I'm pretty sure. So, driving-related offenses continuing to consistently flow in the Georgia program. Don't know what the hell's happening there. Don't know if anything's really going to happen at the highest levels there as far as change is concerned. So, I don't know. We'll keep it moving from there. It's just, one of those things, death, taxes, Georgia players getting arrested for varying degrees of heinous charges. Some not so much, others rah-rah Thomas. There we go. Enough said. Go look it up if you don't know that story. Whew. Thank God he wasn't on Mississippi State at that point. Whew. Or, I don't know if that really matters, but, oh, God. That was a tough one. And there's a reason that he'd never played a snap for Georgia football. We'll just leave it at that. Outside of that, we'll just get straight into the headlines. Weird turn of events on that one. Why not start right here at the top, where we kind of left off last week. The Vikings are seemingly out on signing Aaron Rodgers. They've kind of given every indication that they're going to move forward with J.J. McCarthy as the starting quarterback, which doesn't really leave a spot for Aaron Rodgers. Not rejoicing just yet. The Vikings are yet to sign a backup quarterback yet, which indicates to me that Either they're waiting on someone. Word is Ryan Tannehill. That seems to be the leader in the clubhouse, and I wouldn't hate that. Wouldn't hate that. Veteran backup, been around for a long time. Played some high-level football in his career, but definitely a backup quarterback. There's a hierarchy there. He's kind of a mentor type of guy. Similar to what Sam Darnold was last year, but I would say even more of the veteran mentor type of role this year for Ryan Tannehill, if that is who it ends up being. It's him, Joe Flacco. I can't remember if Marcus Mariota signed somewhere or if he's still on the market. That's another option out there as well. But they've yet to sign someone. So not something unforeseen could happen, and the Vikings could ultimately just snatch my heart right out of my chest, especially at this point. It'd be a pretty unprofessional way of doing things. I'm going to put it about like 90-10, thinking that Aaron Rodgers isn't coming to the sliver of a possibility that he is. Still putting it at like 90-10. I don't think it's going to happen, but there is that possibility. The fact that the Vikings haven't signed a backup quarterback, and maybe by the time that this comes out, one will have been signed, at which point we can just pretend this all never happened and I can just go merrily along my way. But until that happens, I'm waiting and seeing. Well, let's just say I'm waiting and seeing on that. And the reason for a little bit of this muddled response initially was, the ESPN Vikings beat writer Kevin Seifert, a guy that I have notifications on, bit of a nerd, bit of a dork, but does very good work. Probably a guy I'd go get a beer with. After a certain point, maybe not so fun, but who's to say? I like dorks. I'm kind of a dork and a nerd myself. That being said, Kevin's a little bit more of a dork than I am on Twitter, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's a reporter, but gets good information, very plugged into the organization, obviously, being the beat reporter there. He came out and pretty definitively said the Vikings are out on Aaron Rodgers. Diana Rossini countered pretty shortly after on that, however, that the Vikings were still open to Rodgers joining the roster. They just aren't waiting on him to make a decision and move forward with their own plans, which I don't know. Rossini's been big on the Aaron Rodgers to Minnesota train like all offseason, so I'm not going to go as far as to say there's bias in her reporting. I might say that there is some degree of bias in her sources that may be coming through in the reports coming out, because these insiders, for better or for worse, and please do not take this in a negative fashion. I will explain a little bit deeper here in just a bit. The insiders are essentially mouthpieces, and there is a very bad connotation to that word. So I apologize in advance. It's not meant to be as negative as that comes off. What I'm saying is an insider isn't saying shit as a report unless it has been thoroughly vetted and it is coming from sources. So essentially, maybe mouthpiece isn't the right word, but if an insider says something, except for Jordan Schultz, his hit rate is not quite good enough for me to trust him all the time. If a Diana Rossini, an Adam Schefter, and Ian Rappaport says something, whatever the report is, it's going to happen. However, you're only really as good as your sources on that. In a lot of cases, you have clusters of sources here and there, and then it comes through in the way things are reported, the framing of things. Adam Schefter's notorious for this. It's always some sort of framing in some direction to make the deal look better in some way, shape, or form. And to be fair, in that case, I'm convinced no one's going to outright say it, but I'm convinced that sort of like favorable reporting is kind of currying favor with sources to where they're going to keep giving you information down the road. That you're never going to convince me otherwise on that. No one's going to outright say it. That's the quiet part that I'm saying out loud right now. That's kind of how that business works. But in Diana Rossini's case, it seems like she's talking to some sources that wanted the Aaron Rodgers to Minnesota thing to happen. And it's come across in the reporting because she's kind of been out on an island on this as far as the possibility of Aaron Rodgers joining Minnesota, not ruling it out yet, not being definitive on them ruling it out. And to be fair, They still haven't signed a backup quarterback at the time of this recording. That might change by the time this comes out tomorrow, but as of right now, simply not the case. So still monitoring it. Like I said, 90-10, I think Aaron Rodgers isn't coming, but weird things happen. Weird things happen, and I guess we'll leave it at that. Outside of that, Aaron Rodgers did also, after this news broke, he visited the Steelers facility on, when was that, Sunday, I think it was? He visited the Steelers facility, left without a deal, but seems like it was a positive visit. At this point, if you don't know the news that's been going on, if you've been living under a rock over the past week, you would think, okay, we're going to visit the Giants next. Unfortunately, that is not an option anymore because Jameis Winston is now the Giants starting quarterback. We're going to put a pin in that, talk about that in just a second because that's fun. That is, hey, put a pin in it. I don't want to bury the lead here and give up my biggest point about that one. But that is all to say the Steelers are the only option for Aaron Rodgers if he wants to start next year at this point. Unless, of course, lends more credence to the possibility that the Vikings are, in fact, not, the door isn't maybe totally shut on Aaron Rodgers. I kind of hope it is, but we shall see. I'm not going to be comfortable until they sign a backup quarterback. The Steelers are probably, I mean, if the Vikings come calling and they want Aaron Rodgers, that's where you're going if you're Aaron Rodgers, because that's a Super Bowl ready roster that if you just plop Aaron Rodgers on, if he at least got the arm strength left, he's not very mobile. We'll see if he stifles the offensive creativity that's made Kevin O'Connell one of the best offensive coordinators in the entire league since he took over as the Vikings. If he does, in fact, join, if all goes well, that's a Super Bowl caliber team, maybe the best team in all of the NFC right now. That's including the Eagles. The Vikings made a lot of big-time improvements this offseason to where if they get solid quarterback play, they're going to be right there in the thick of it to go to the Super Bowl next year. You can book that, barring injury, obviously, always that caveat in there. They're loaded on both sides of the ball, absolutely loaded going into next season. Going to be right up there. I mean, the NFC North is loaded once again. Oddly enough, the Lions might be in, I don't want to say the worst spot, but the least favorable spot because they're replacing their entire assistant coaching staff. I know the Bears are doing the same, but they also, actually that's a good point. The Bears are doing the same, but they brought in a shit ton of players this offseason, taking advantage of that quarterback on a rookie deal. So like that is, I kind of got delineated on that one. That is to say, if the Vikings come calling, Aaron Rodgers is going to come, take that job. I just don't think the Vikings are calling. I think the Steelers are going to be the best opportunity he's going to have. I think he's the best option for the Steelers. And frankly, if he signs with the Steelers, wouldn't hate if the Vikings signed Russell Wilson. I like that pairing. I like that pairing a lot, actually. Wouldn't hate Ryan Tannehill either, but first things first, let's get this across the goal line here and get Aaron Rodgers into Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh fans, what other option do you have? So I think they're all on board with that. Vikings fans, bit of a mixed bag on that one. I'm definitely in the camp of keep the snake oil salesman away from a good culture. That's just generally a good idea, I would say. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think it feels like only a matter of time until Aaron Rodgers signs with the Steelers. It would also be a very Aaron Rodgers thing to do to just retire, though. Like, after all this attention he's just absorbed up in this media tour, he goes on Pat McAfee's show. They ratings through the roof, biggest show of the year every year whenever he comes on for his decision speech, and then he just decides to ride off into the sunset. Now, do I think that sticks if he does that? No, it would just be the literal exact same scenario of Brett Favre going to the Vikings. Just maybe this time we do the Steelers, not the Vikings. I don't really want that at all. I digress. I digress on that front. We talked a lot about Aaron Rodgers at this point. I think we've wrung as much juice as we can out of that orange. So Aaron Rodgers, just make a damn decision. I really don't care that much. I really don't. I spent way too much time right there pandering to people that might listen about Aaron Rodgers. I don't care. I just make up your mind And just like I said, if it were me giving Aaron Rodgers advice, I'd say retire from football and go start a cult. That's what he's always wanted to do. But also that advice is probably why I would never be in a position to give Aaron Rodgers advice. So I'm going to keep moving from there. A lot of miscellaneous headlines this week. Give me just 1 second. I am about to cough. Let me see if I can just mute this real quick. That worked. That's good. I got a little cough button here over on the side, so I don't have to blow out any eardrums there. That's perfect. Love that. Now that I got my throat clear, though, just talk about some free agency stuff. Not much going on, but there's a few notable things that are happening around the NFL. Brandon Cooks proved time is a flat circle. He's signing back with the Saints, where it all started 11 years after he was drafted. Got to be in the Hall of Fame, a journeyman. I would say. I mean, he's not in the Hall of Fame, but if we're talking about journeyman, he's been as productive as a journeyman has ever been. Longevity to go with it. I mean, nice career that Brandon Cooks has put together. You have the feeling that if he was a little bit easier to work with in the locker room, he probably would have stayed a little bit longer at some of these places, but just seemed to find his way out of town at every place that he went. Traded for more first-round picks than maybe any journeyman of all time, so that deserves credit in and of itself. A bit of an enigma, which is to say, I don't know anything about the guy. Seems like he could be kind of a dickhead. And you know what? He made a whole lot of money. To the best of my knowledge, doesn't have a whole lot of legal stuff going on. So, hey, T.O. is an asshole. He didn't really get arrested. So, I mean, same thing with Ocho Cinco, though. Ocho Cinco, he's kind of just funny. T.O.'s an asshole. Ocho Cinco, more just funny. Big ego guys, though. Never got in trouble. Not a problem whatsoever. So that's kind of where I'm at with Brandon Cooks. I think he did have a PED suspension in there somewhere along the lines, but still, water under the bridge at this point. Back where it all started. Why not? I still don't really know what the Saints are doing at this point. Who's to say? Accidentally skipped on the funnest headline of the week, by the way. Jameis Winston to the Giants. Talked about this briefly before. It's like a 2-year deal, like $8 million guaranteed, I want to say. It's basically a 1-year, $8 million deal. So he's going to be the quarterback for the Giants this year. That's beautiful right there. I love that. That's the Giants are going to be a dog shit football team. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's not get this twisted. The Giants are going to be an awful football team next year. Everyone is going to be fired in all likelihood. From Joe Shane to Brian Dable, they would be fools to run it back another year if they have another bad season. Now, if they exceed expectations, they go like 9-8, 10-7, God forbid, then they bought themselves another year, probably even more because they're going to draft a quarterback at that point. So, although that being said, you could question whether they have the assets to get a quarterback if they're 10-7 at that point. But I digress. Here's how I look at this, man. If you're going to be an awful football team, which the Giants are going to be an awful football team, let's not get it twisted. They're going to be a really bad football team. If you're going to be a really bad football team, though, why not be fun? Hey, you got Jameis Winston throwing the ball to Malik Neighbors. I've seen it all over Twitter at this point, talking about this. I mean, Malik Neighbors could go for 2,000 yards this year through the air. I mean, that's a legitimate possibility. Jameis Winston throwing the ball, a deep threat like Malik Neighbors, already one of the best in the entire league. I think pretty much showed everyone who should have been the first wide receiver off the board at this point. Even if you are a Marvin Harrison Jr. fan, which, hey, he's still a freak. He could still be a very, very good wide receiver, but there's a clear 1-1 from last draft if we're redrafting, and that's Malik Neighbors. That 100% with a bullet, it's Malik Neighbors. He was spectacular with god-awful quarterback play. I mean, just 10 times worse than what Marvin Harrison Jr. was dealing with Kyler Murray. I mean, just a carousel of god-awful QBs, and all of them found Malik Neighbors. Every single one of them found Malik Neighbors. You just get Jameis Winston in there, just throwing fuck it balls 60 yards down the field. Malik Neighbors might be, fantasy wide receiver number 1 next year. He's going to get 1 million targets. He's probably going to have like 20 yards per catch next year. It's going to be real fun. And on the flip side of that, we may see the first 40-40 season. That being 40 touchdowns, 40 interceptions. Jameis Winston could be going across, new barriers that we've never seen before in the existence of this league. He could throw for 600 yards in a game. I'll tell you, he'd probably have 6 touchdowns, anywhere from 5 to 7 interceptions on that day, and it would be beautiful chaos. Beautiful chaos. And that's why I love this, man. Because no matter what, unless somehow you bring in Patrick Mahomes in the offseason, and even then, maybe he wouldn't even be good enough to get this Giants team anywhere. Barring you bringing in a franchise-changing quarterback, which they're not going to do, team's going to be awful. Might as well have a good time while you're doing it. And Jameis Winston, if nothing else, he's a good time. Now, don't look at the checkered past too much. That's fairly far behind him at this point. We just hope nothing else pops up on that. But if he continues to not be a sex pest, on a good run of that over the last several years at this point, been a little bit since he was a sex pest. However, the sex pest is still within his personality. So something that we've got to watch here in the long run. However, if he just keeps that part of him just kind of locked away deep inside, never to be opened back up again, we got great quotes in the media. We've got head-scratching, hilarious plays on the football field. What's not to love? What's not to love? Not to mention the pregame speeches that we're going to be privy to from Jameis Winston. This, in the city of New York, this is just beautiful, man. I can't wait to watch this unfold. I really can't wait. And you know what? Good on the Giants. Everyone is going to be fired. I cannot stress that enough. I don't know why they didn't fire everyone this offseason, frankly. I'm still scratching my head. There's not really one good reason why Brian Daboll and Joe Shane should still have jobs right now. I'm just laying it out to you pretty bluntly. But you're only delaying the inevitable for a year. Everyone's going to get fired next offseason. If I had to guess, might as well have fun. Might as well have a little bit of fun along the way. That's where I'll leave that. Okay, so keeping it moving from there. Cal Football's hiring Ron Rivera as their new GM. Okay. I'm still not entirely sure what the job description of the GM is. Like, I get it from an NFL perspective. They're kind of they're kind of responsible for personnel decisions, I suppose. And it's a fairly similar job in college football from what I understand, but the head coach is still the one doing the recruiting. The head coach is still the one at the end of the day. The head coach and the recruiting staff, of course. I'm not discounting their work at all. Those are the guys that are going to be like the big. They're going to be the big drivers as to what guys that they end up getting. I guess in college football, like the GM is a little bit more of a head of scouting. I think as the revenue sharing model comes into play, I think that's actually coming into play this year, I want to say. It's either this year or next year. Either way, we're getting revenue sharing, which is basically putting in a pseudo salary cap, which we're here, folks. I like this. I like this. I do not like all of the side effects that the monetary model has brought about, but I think we're going to get a little bit more stability under a revenue sharing model that allows for more like actual kind of salaries, whether they call them that or not. I don't know if they want to keep up this fucking amateurism charade. It's not been amateurism for quite some time. Really, it been officially pretty much not amateurism since the NIL stuff came around. Like, the only way it's not quote unquote, or it is quote unquote amateur, is that the school's not paying them a salary to play football, but they kind of are through the NIL fund, the collective. So, I don't know, different story for a different time, but with like a more formal salary structure where schools are allowed to cut checks to kids like directly, I think we're going to see a little bit more stability there. But I guess it's more for like getting back to the GM of it all, kind of delineated there. I suppose it's more of something where like you're more of a scouting guy. Are they looking at team needs? Are they looking at like it feels like there's just a lot of crossover with the head coach's job and the scout's job. Like, do they set the focus on which players to look at, which players to go for? Like it's going to become more clear as the years go on. Obviously, it's working well for the biggest of big time programs because every big time program has a GM. I'll tell you that right now. Every big time program in major college football has a GM right now. Mississippi State has a GM. That should tell you what we need to know about the importance of the GM position. I guess I don't really know what the job description entails for a GM at the college football level. It's inherently different from the NFL level, even though they are doing a similar type of job. I guess it's more scouting focused. I don't know. But also, I don't really know if Ron Rivera is qualified for that job. Is Andrew Luck qualified for that job at Stanford? Which, by the way, if you didn't know, Andrew Luck is the GM at Stanford for their football team. I guess I don't know. I trust Andrew Luck more than I would trust Ron Rivera with those types of personnel decisions. I don't know. I really don't know on that. I guess I'll have to do a little bit more reading. But hey, that's a hire. There you go, Cal football. You got to hire. That's right. Enjoy ACC play. That's never ceases to amaze me. Stanford and Cal in the ACC. That's never going to not boggle my mind. Excuse me. The Browns signed guard Tevin Jenkins, formerly of the Bears. Listen, he's pretty solid whenever he's healthy. It's just the when he's healthy thing tends to be less and less nowadays, which is why he's not on the Bears anymore. A team that clearly needed good offensive linemen, but Tevin Jenkins could never stay healthy enough to justify the signing. So now he's with the Browns. Browns another team that are just looking like an abomination of a football team next year. I mean, outside of Myles Garrett and like a couple players in the defense, that's an aging defense too, by the way. I mean, a lot of those big-time players outside of like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, sneaky reeling in the years, stowing away the time, as they say. So enjoy that money, Myles Garrett. That's all I got to say. Enjoy that money. 9 figures feels good. I'll tell you that right now. 9 figures does feel good. We'll see how it feels on the flip side. We'll just say that. Michael Gallup is making a return to the NFL with the Commies. See exactly what he's got left in the tank, but it's good to see him back in the NFL. Announced his return or intention to return, I believe, last week, 2 weeks ago at this point. Didn't know if he would sign someplace, but he signs with the Commies. I don't know the contract details, but I can't imagine it's much higher than the minimum. Was a really solid, underrated player for a little bit there with Dallas. Just too many knee injuries. Not the player that he once was, for sure. We'll see if having that year off, obviously he retired from the Raiders before last season. So we'll see if maybe having that year off, maybe he's a little bit healthier. Maybe you see a little bit of what there used to be there with the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe he reinvents himself. I don't know. Good to see him back, though. Didn't love how it ended overall. You hate to see it go just based on injuries like that. Hopefully he gets to write a little bit better end to his story in the NFL. But hey, good for Michael Gallup. Good for Michael Gallup there. QB Season 2 on Netflix. That is coming out in July of this year, featuring Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, and Kirk Cousins once again. Playing a different role this time, let's just say. We'll just say playing the role that Marcus Mariota played in the first season of quarterback. Being the quarterback that is not playing very well, who will ultimately be benched. Give it to Netflix, man. They know how to get every end of the spectrum here on quarterback play. Though I don't really think they represented the middle at all. I mean, I guess if you're talking like just historically, Jared Goff is kind of a middle of the pack quarterback. last year he was like borderline MVP conversation. He had a hell of a year last year. So, I mean, I guess you can consider him being the middle class, but you have, once again, elite, top 5, probably top 2 or 3 QB and Joe Burrow there. They had Patrick Mahomes the first season, obviously the GOAT. Then you have the middle class. I'm doing the air quotes here if you're watching me on YouTube, or that's more for people who are listening on podcasts who can't see me. It's, the middle class quarterback. He was a top 10 quarterback last year. He's been about a top 10 quarterback every year under Ben Johnson. See if that progresses again this year, but put a pin in that for now. And then, of course, you've got the bottom tier quarterback in Kirk Cousins, who was not long for the Atlanta Falcons job. And I'm just going to reiterate it till the cows come home. Terry Fontenot has no fucking clue what he's doing. He should not still be the GM of the Falcons. And I have yet to see a coherent plan in putting together a roster or doing literally anything as the Falcons GM. Don't know why he has a job. Sorry to Terry Fontenot, but I'm perplexed that you still have a job there. And that Michael Penix move, just, we don't have to relitigate that. I could talk for like an hour on how absolutely stupid that entire situation was. And I'm not faulting Michael Penix as a player. I don't hate Michael Penix as a player. I think number 8 overall is probably a little bit high for him based on the draft grades for other teams, I believe. And maybe they know something that we don't as far as those draft grades. I digress on that front as well. But, I mean, the pick was not the issue there. It was everything surrounding it. We don't have to relitigate all that. But, yeah, that's quarterback season 2. Will I watch it? Let me answer that question with another question. Did I watch the first season? No, I'm not watching this. I don't even think I have an active Netflix subscription. Too much fucking money. Who's paying $25 a month for Netflix? I mean, especially me, a guy that notoriously does not watch hardly any shows, like at all. Like, I'm not watching White Lotus. I'm not watching Severance. Name a show, I'm probably not watching that shit, quite frankly. It just doesn't interest me. Doesn't interest me for the most part. Every once in a while, I'll come out of hibernation. I'll watch The Last of Us. Really, if it's any way related to a video game that I love, like The Last of Us or God of War, whenever that comes out, I have a sneaking suspicion they're going to butcher that series, but gotta watch it to make sure. The Witcher, they kind of did butcher that series a little bit from the vibe of the games, but still watched it. That's kind of the stuff that I'll come out of hibernation for. I used to be bigger into shows than I am, but who's paying $25 a month for Netflix? What am I, made of money? Made of money? I'm doing all right, but I mean, hey, not $25 a month. I'll keep a Planet Fitness on retainer. That's $10 a month, man. You can't ask me. You simply can't ask me to keep Netflix on retainer for $25 a month. Now, I will do that for HBO Max, just because elite selection of movies on there. Do I watch it? Almost never. Also, they got Last of Us on there, so there's that too. But do I watch it? Almost never. However, I love it. I love it when I do. It's got the stuff that I need whenever I need it. Frankly, I don't need it often, but if I do, it's right there. It's right there. And with that, let's kind of wrap this thing up real quick. Shout out to defensive end Brandon Graham, longtime Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham. He is retiring from the NFL after 15 seasons, all of them with the Eagles. I love franchises that do this. The Vikings are currently in the process of doing it with Harrison Smith. The Eagles love to do this all the time, man. They would have done this with Jason Peters if Jason Peters hadn't played for like 4 more years than everyone expected him to play, essentially. He just retired this past offseason with the Seattle Seahawks. He was like 41 years old. Future Hall of Famer. No question about it whatsoever. Brandon Graham, don't know if he's a surefire Hall of Famer. I'm not sure he's got the numbers to quite get there. Easy Ring of Honor guy. They'll retire his jersey pretty soon after he's retired. Maybe even this next season, quite frankly. But I love when a player sticks with the team for a long time. I mean, the Eagles really do love to do this, though, man. They're doing it right now with Lane Johnson. They did it with... come on, man. Every time. I don't know why. Fletcher Cox. Every time Fletcher Cox comes up, I just blank on his name. I don't know what it is about Fletcher Cox. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. That's just my brain. That's just my brain. He stayed with the Eagles his entire career, though. Sorry, I gotta cough again real quick. Hold on. Sweet mother of God, I'm dying. Not really, but man, I'm hoarse today. I'm quite hoarse today. I need to take a time out after we're done with this. But we'll just grit through this. But yeah, they're doing it with Lane Johnson right now. Did it with Fletcher Cox. Did it with other players that I can't quite remember off the top of my head. Apologies to those players, quite frankly. Eagles love to do this though. That's the main. Oh, Jason Kelce. What am I talking about? Jason Kelce. He stayed his entire career with the Philadelphia Eagles as well. Eagles in particular love to do this, and I love it too because I mean it creates a bond with the fans. I mean it kind of it's good for the culture. Having long-term guys that you drafted and you brought up, that's just, I don't care who you are. That's fantastic for a culture, quite frankly. Keeping those guys around to be veteran mentors, leaders, all that sort of stuff. The Eagles just run everything right, and this is just a symptom of that. Guys staying their entire careers, never really even considering leaving in a lot of cases. Listen, man, the Eagles fans, I don't like them very much. They are scumbags, and I do respect them for their unabashed scumbaggery. Hey, hats off to you. You are who you are, and you're not changing for fucking anybody. I respect the shit out of that. That being said, they are scumbags, and I do not like them very much. The Philadelphia Eagles team, the way it's run, like, I don't know, it's, unless you're like a division rival, it's kind of hard not to at least like the Eagles a little bit. Like I love the way the Eagles run their organization from top to bottom, from like, I mean, GM to coaching staff, ownership, hands off in most circumstances because he has a GM like Howie Roseman, gives him the luxury to do that. I love that. I really just I love everything about how that organization's run, and they've been deserving of these 2 Super Bowls under the Roseman administration. I'll just say that it's well earned, They built it the right way, and they continue to build it in the right way. So it's endlessly impressive what Howie Roseman and the Eagles as a whole. I mean, even Nick Sirianni, gotten a lot of shit. Kind of a wild card as far as the personality. Super Bowl winning head coach, has been very good with the team over the last several seasons, pretty much. So there, we'll put a pin in it there. Outside of that, we're kind of up on the end of this thing. We got quarterback pro days, college quarterbacks. Really kind of a bad quarterback class this year. There's really only, I don't know, 2-3 guys that most are considering as maybe being starters. One of those guys is Jackson Dart, which should tell you just about all you need to know about this quarterback class if you watched any of Jackson Dart in college. And hey, don't get me wrong, man. I mean, I think if you put Jackson Dart in a situation where he's going to sit for a year, maybe 2 years even, with a good offensive mind, preferably an offensive head coach to help mold him, and a veteran quarterback that's like not going to give up the starting job in year 1, I think Jackson Dart could ultimately be a star. I mean, he's got wheels, he's got good legs, got a really good arm, just he's raw. He doesn't have a whole lot of like pro-style success, let's just say. For all the good things that Lane Kiffin's offense does, being a pro-style offense is not one of them. Not one of them at all. But Jackson Dart, talented player. He goes to the wrong situation, or really even a situation that's not perfect, he's going to bust. That's just the way it is. Like, you put him on the Steelers, I don't know about that one, Chief. And that's actually kind of a toss-up to me. Now, if he starts year 1 and he's the Steelers quarterback, don't think that's going to work out, quite frankly. However, if you sign Aaron Rodgers, and there's questions about whether Aaron Rodgers would help mentor a young QB, probably not, quite frankly, if you kind of follow the personality trends with the guy. I I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it. I mean, assuming that Aaron Rodgers just isn't completely done, which might be. Might be. We don't really know right now. But if Aaron Rodgers keeps that job the whole year, Jackson Dart's allowed to sit, wouldn't hate it. Wouldn't hate that at all. But quarterback pro days, Cam Ward had his on Monday. Watched some of those throws. I mean, it's all like highlight tape bullshit. The thing that really was encouraging was the footwork. Not a whole lot of like foot drifting or anything like that. There's really only so much you can tell from a pro day, but the footwork is really the only thing that matters, quite frankly. Because, I mean, the throws really don't fucking matter at all. Like, completed, incomplete, who cares, quite frankly. It's really just about whether they're accurate on a consistent basis, which against air, you should be accurate on a consistent basis. The thing that kind of strikes me about Ward's, though, is that very consistent footwork, not a whole lot of errants. Like J.J. McCarthy, for instance, he had some very inconsistent footwork coming out of college. I mean, he kind of like let the back leg kind of like, float around a little bit coming off the ground. Had inconsistent accuracy as a result. Cam Ward, not that whatsoever. Firmly planted on the ground. If he rolls out and he has to, make one of those off-platform throws, he's got the kind of arm that can get it down the field. I'll reiterate it again. I've been pretty consistent on this. Cam Ward is the only guy in this draft that I would say I would feel comfortable taking number 1 overall. That's of the one guys that I would say who has the best chance to be a star in this draft, and I would say has that juice to be a star, like personality, the arm talent, just everything pretty much. It's Cam Ward, and there's really not anyone else in this draft. And kind of reaffirmed that thought in my mind, kind of watching a little bit of that pro day. Again, only caught like highlights, but from what I saw, I was pretty much laser focused on the feet, and the feet were pretty good. Footwork was pretty good. I'm not a footwork expert, but there wasn't a whole lot of weird shit happening with the feet. They're not happy feet or anything like that, just very poised. A lot of what you saw in college. He's a gunslinger, though. I think Cam Ward could be like, really, I feel the comp for Cam Ward is kind of Brett Favre. Really similar, and I don't want to put the Mahomes comp on him, but Mahomes was comped to Brett Favre for a similar reason why I'm comping Cam Ward to Brett Favre. One, it's the laser rocket arm. Best arm in this draft by a mile, pretty much, is Cam Ward. It's Looney Tunes, the things that he can do with the football. But just the sheer unbridled aggression, just the gall, the unmitigated gall to just throw some of the throws that he does, and those catch up with him every once in a while. He's gonna have to rein that in just a tad, but that's part of what makes him special. The gunslinger attitude, the guy that just does not give a fuck. Yeah, am I gonna throw 15, 16 interceptions in a season? Maybe. If I counter that with 42 touchdown passes, it doesn't really matter so much, though, does it? That's the type of upside you're looking at with Cam Ward. Now, on the flip side, if he's a number 1 overall pick, assuming the Titans stand pat, going to be going to the Tennessee Titans, who notoriously have barely an offensive line, maybe the worst offensive line in the entire league. It's really not good, and the receivers are not much better, we'll just say. They're probably a little bit better, relatively speaking, to their competition, but not much. Titans still have a god-awful roster. Just putrid. Putrid, I say. They're trying. God bless their little hearts, they're trying, but looks a lot like last year where they were trying, and they ultimately ended with the number 1 overall pick. So we saw how that all went. Outside of that, though, Jalen Milroe ran unofficial under 4.4 in the 40. Friendly timers. It's probably a little bit north of 4.4, I would say. That's another guy. I wouldn't. If the Steelers get like Aaron Rodgers and he starts the whole year, I would not hate having Jalen Milroe in there. Now, I don't know exactly. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do to mentor Jalen Milroe outside of maybe helping with some throwing decision making. Jalen Milroe is a big time project. Very similar to Jackson Dart, but maybe even more so in the throwing category here. Jalen Milroe is a big time project when it comes to passing the ball. As an athlete, listen, he could step in at, and this is gonna sound bad because of the connotation of the way of what I am saying here. He could step in tomorrow in a backfield like, say, let me think of one off the top of the head here. So let's just say he goes to the New England Patriots. They have Ramondre Stevenson, but if Jalen Milroe stepped in as a running back in the New England Patriots, I think he starts by the end of the year. I think he's that good of an athlete to where, I mean, he as a runner, I don't know if there was anyone better in all of college football from the quarterback position than Jalen Milroe. Electrifying runner. Consistently just put on the burners and did shit that you didn't think was possible when the play started. That's the type of runner that Jalen Milroe is. The problem is he's got one card on the docket there as a passer. It's throw the ball deep. He's got an okay deep ball. Everything else is pretty lackluster, I would say. So that's a huge project. If you went to the Steelers, I probably wouldn't hate that, assuming that they have Aaron Rodgers. The Rams, maybe another one there. Jackson Dart would also work pretty well for the Rams, I would say. Those are guys that you put them in situations where they don't need to start right away because they're going to need some tender love and care. If I'm a project QB this year, I want to go to the Rams. That absolutely want to go to the Rams. You want to be not even in a question of starting, as long as the starter is healthy, not even a question of whether you're starting from day one. You're just there to learn. You are there to recreate your throwing motion, to make yourself accurate, to learn how to play at the NFL level. Your time will come. That's the spot right there with the Rams. If I'm a project quarterback, I want to go to Los Angeles. That's absolutely what I want to do. That being said, I think we bloviated enough on the quarterback stuff. That's pretty much all for this episode. Get you out of here, pretty quick one. I think by the time I'm done, hitting this wrap up, it'll probably be right around 50 minutes. So, hey, I'm getting pretty good at this timing thing, man. I'll tell you what. This coming 2 weeks after I said I'd try to get you out of here in like an hour 20, and it went for like an hour 40. But these things happen. What are we gonna do? That being said. Thank you so much for tuning into Unqualified Analysis. We do this thing once a week, every Tuesday, until the football season starts again. Then we're back to Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm enjoying the off season so far. We'll just say that. I'll be chomping at the bit to get into the season whenever we get there. But for right now, I'm just chilling out. I'm just chilling out right now. Outside of that. Yeah, you can follow me on the socials at CalebVUA. Shoot me a DM if you want to, opine, get in touch with the show. Apparently, someone used the Unqualified Analysis email. I don't know if it's a phishing thing or if someone just got the email address and then started using that email for food stamps. I logged into the Unqualified Analysis email yesterday, and it's just a sea of food stamps emails. So got to get that checked out. Don't know what's happening there. Otto, you son of a bitch, get off my email. I don't know who the hell you are, Otto, but get the hell off my email with your fucking food stamps, okay? I don't know what scam you're pulling right now, but I don't want to be a party to it, okay? I've already tried to unsubscribe from those emails. That being said, different story for a different time. And it is all to say, maybe just go to the DMs if you want to get in touch with the show for right now. Outside of that, yeah, thank you so much for tuning into Unqualified Analysis. As always, got just about no clue what I'm talking about, but we're making a good show along the way, I like to think. That being said, one thing that I learned this week, let me just verify this real quick, because I do have to be very precise with this, okay? Just bear with me. This will not take long at all. Trust me, we're almost there. It's almost over. It is almost over. Okay, I guess I gotta go this route here. So okay. Perfect. Perfect. Stat still holds. I just wanted to make sure that the stat was. Oh, hold on. Hold on. I got to do a recount here. Hold on. No. The stat does not hold. There was one extra that I forgot about, I'm pretty sure. My apologies. My apologies. That's all. No. No, I was right before. I'm stupid. I just gotta get this thing going. I just gotta get this thing going, and don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all. So as I was saying, so we can get this thing rolling. I probably should have checked this before I came on and started recording, but can't be asked. Can't be asked, frankly. Anyways, to the fun fact, one thing I learned this week, this one hot off the presses here, actually. Ben Simmons, who has been in the league for 8 seasons, has fewer career-made three-pointers than Bronny James. That being 5 three-pointers career for Ben Simmons in 8 seasons, and 7 for Bronny in his first year, where he has bounced up and down from the G League. Such wasted potential there for Ben Simmons, but I digress. Anyways, I'm going to go get this thing edited, maybe even eat something. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling, and I'll talk to y'all next Tuesday, I suppose. Anyways, see ya.